Hello, Internet. I'm Corinne. 1R, 2Ns. Just to be clear, that's the only way to spell it. I do have hair. It's tied up because I didn't feel like doing anything with it. And why should I? Because nobody's going to see it anyways, because I've been quarantined since like March. And it's actually not the worst thing, because I was gonna have 4 AP tests, all of which were gonna be like 3 or 4 hours, and now they're only 45 minutes. So that's a plus. But the problem with being quarantined is that I find myself once again spending far too much time with our friends, The Sims. Now, hear me out. The Sims is possibly the best game ever. I mean, just for sheer, like, you can do anything in that game. Like, if you buy all the expansion packs, which I haven't because I don't have the money for them. If you buy all the expansion packs, you can, like, get, like, a cool job. You can, like, take your sim to that job. You can, like, go out in the world. It's great. It's so great because I'm not allowed to go out. But, like, my sim, I can build my sim a cool house. Then I can have my sim go clubbing or whatever. I don't know. What do the kids do these days? People club, right? That's a thing. But the problem with Sims is that I'm not the administrator on my computer. My mom is, because she says I don't know anything about technology. And so every time I decide I want to play Sims, I have to update the app, because it's usually like a couple months in between where I'm like, you know, I downloaded The Sims for free. Super proud of that. Like a few months ago. No, it was almost a year ago now. Jesus. Anyway, so I downloaded The Sims. And then I was like, this is so great. I'm going to play The Sims forever. La da da. Having a good time. And I completely forgot about it for like 2 or 3 months. Nothing. And then I finally decided I wanted to play. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go play. And it had to be updated. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll get it updated. And so by the time I got it updated, by the time like I had found my mom and like had a time when she was free to update it and I was free to update it, and it was a whole thing. It was like 2 weeks later. I'm like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna play The Sims. And then I played for 3 days straight. I mean, I like ate and drank and slept and stuff, but like literally almost every single waking hour I spent on The Sims until my computer threatened to overheat, and then I stopped. And then I didn't play again for another 2 months. So in this quarantine that I have found myself in, I got right back to it. I mean, I decided it would be a brilliant idea, and I stand by this. This is a brilliant idea, to create a grandma sim, because I finally bought the tiny living pack, which I was so excited about. It was the first pack I ever bought. So I buy the tiny living pack. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna make a little cottage for a grandma sim. It's gonna be great. So the thing is, I'm not very good at creating sims. So I go to randomize a sim, right? And I'm like, okay, I'll like set the age to old, set the gender to female, because I want to play like a grandma for some reason. I thought it'd be cute. And then I just like let it fly. And my character ended up being a criminal for some reason. Just this grandma who's a straight up criminal. Don't know exactly what was happening there, but either way, I was like, yes, okay, we're going with it. The grandma's a criminal. And so then, of course, I'm like, well, if she's old, she's gonna need somebody to take over her criminal empire. So I have the grandma adopt a child, because I was gonna adopt a teenager, but you can't adopt teenagers. So I adopt a child. I'm like, this child is gonna be trained to take over the family business. And the child is like mischievous or something, which is a good sign. It means she'll be good at being a thief or whatever the family business is. I haven't decided what the family business is. So I build this like adorable little cottage on like a plot in the, what's the world that looks like Arizona? It looks like Arizona. I don't know. In that world, right by like a nice little creek. And then it's like in the back corner of the lot. And then underneath the basement, the entire lot is this like giant like luxury like house. Like it's got like everything. And I have decided that that's where she's gonna hold all her like criminal meetings. And so I've been like working on this house, building both houses, because I built 2 houses for like, I don't know, several hours. I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm gonna save. I saved. Well, actually, I was saving partway through and then it crashed. My computer heated up and freaked out and was upset at me. And so I had to like start over from like halfway through. But eventually I finished. I saved, all good. And I started playing. And it was like so boring. I was so excited to start playing and then I actually got into it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna have the kid go to school and I'm just like sitting there watching the grandma like putter around the house and there's like nothing I can like do because I already did all my like mischievous actions for the day. And so I'm like running out of things to do with this girl. But then I noticed that her sim aspiration is like romantic. She wants to find like a romantic partner. So I decided to go with the story. The sim really, really wanted to have a child to pass on the family business to. And so she had like a history of really like fleeting relationships that didn't really mean anything. And so she decided to just adopt a child, but she's like still continuing with like the relationships, but she's like just gonna date like elders because otherwise I feel like it's weird. Even like huge age gaps in person like kind of creep me out a little bit. And so I guess even in The Sims, I'm just making sure that everybody's like the same general demographic. But now I'm worried because all of her boyfriends are gonna like die and then I'll have to deal with that. And I don't think I've ever had a sim actually die because I never play for long enough for any of them to be like old enough. I just like play for like 3 days and I start a new household like the next time I want to play. So I don't know exactly how to like deal with that. And so maybe it will be inspiration. Maybe it'll be inspiration for the little kid where like the grandma like is secretly killing her boyfriends or something. I don't know. See, this is why I don't play The Sims. I like hype it up so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so great. I have this like great story planned out. I built this whole house. It's gonna be fun. And then I watch like Sims YouTubers all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. They're building so great. And then like I get into the game and I'm like, no, I'm just not interested. Who does that? And it's not like I can like complain about this to anybody I know in real life because all my friends are busy with schoolwork, although not so much now since we're like officially graduated. My dad's working from home. My mom's doing a bunch of stuff. So like, I'm just gonna talk to the internet, just screaming into the void. Yay. You know what I mean? You know that feeling where you're just like, you're just talking, like you're talking to a person, but you know they're not listening to you, or like you're talking to like a brick wall or something, like a literal brick wall, not like a person who's being a brick wall, although that would apply too. And you like, you know there's nobody listening, you're just like talking. And you're just like enjoying hearing yourself speak. I'm probably not even gonna post this. This is probably just gonna be like me talking in the family room to myself for 9 minutes and 26 seconds. And that, you know, I'm okay with that. I mean, some people do diaries. Am I the only one? When I was a kid, I always had like a diary and I'd get really into it and I'd promise myself I was gonna write every single day. And then I didn't. I never did. Never. Every single time I forgot. So that's probably how I'm gonna be with this too. But like this way, at least I can just talk, pretend I'm having a conversation with someone who's not paying attention to me, which is, I mean, kind of what this is, right? I'm having a conversation with nobody. Ugh. I can't decide if that's like pathetic or not. You know, like if I know that nobody's watching this, then is it sad that no one's watching it? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Of course you don't. You're not watching this. But the thing about The Sims is that I always get The Sims with the most boring like aspirations and the most boring traits. Even if I do them myself, it always ends up being boring. Like I'll have one sim and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna make her a writer. I actually did that. I did that with the sim. I made him a writer and I made him, what did I do? I made him like creative because I thought that would be appropriate. I made him like studious, kind of a nerd. And then I made him like romantic because I made him to be like the side character. And I was really excited and I thought it would be like a nice sim, but I think I made him like too one-dimensional because like all, I don't know. It's just not interesting playing The Sims when you make them too one-dimensional. But then if you randomize The Sims and you let them choose what they want to do, then it's always like completely random. So it's like this person is lazy, wants to be rich, and I don't know, hates food. Like, it's just completely random. Like, what do you do with that? There's no story. I'd rather take my weird criminal grandmother and do something with that. Criminal grandmother's the story. I feel like that would be an excellent movie. See, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make like a movie, but it's Sims, and so they don't know that I'm trying to make a movie. They don't understand the concept. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm making a movie. Like, you have to do these things. And then, like, you can control them, but, like, not in every situation. You know what I mean? Like, you'll tell them to go to the bathroom, and then they just don't. Has that ever happened? Where I'm like, I'll click the button, and I'll be like, okay, well, your hygiene is low. Go take a shower. And they're like, okay. And then, like, the bubble little just vanishes, and they just don't take a shower. And I'm like, that's not what I told you to do. Your job is to do what I tell you to do. So I click it again, and nothing. Maybe it's my computer glitching out on me, but I think it's just The Sims being stupid, because it does that. Or like how whenever you want to build anything, it always like glitches so bad. Because you have to turn on move objects if you want it to be like closer to each other than like things having a foot of space between them, which doesn't make any sense. Or if you want to make something like higher or lower. And then it'll always like clip in like into the walls. If you have like a plant inside and then you like can see a single leaf sticking out of the wall, and that's absolutely not the vibe. So I don't, oh God, I hate that I said that. I've been spending too much time on TikTok, and now I talk like a 14-year-old. I'm just out here and I'm like, that's a vibe, dude. That's the vibes. Eden packs the, who says that? When I was little, I had such a good vocabulary. Like, I had, like, every single English teacher, like, didn't believe that that was my vocabulary because of how, like, eloquent I was. And now I'm just, like, reduced to talking about vibes after 3 months in quarantine. I don't even know anymore. I'll tell you how bored I've gotten in quarantine. I started rereading the entire Percy Jackson series. I actually fully killed my mom's old Kindle, reading like 20 hours in the span of 3 days. It doesn't turn on. Like, I'll show you. Pressing the power button, boom, nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's how much I was reading. Apparently, it's just like, it's like kaflooey. And you know what I realized? I realized that Percy Jackson is really good. Because it's one of those things where like you read a book when you're little. I mean, not little, I was like 6th grade. You read your book and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever written. I love this so much. The Rainbow Fairies is my favorite series ever. And then you read it again like 7 years later and you're like, it's not good. But Percy Jackson holds up. I mean, it's a little awkward the first couple books because you're reading about like a 12-year-old and you're like, why are they sending you on a quest? Go eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich. But then like once you get into it, you're like, yes! Like the characters are really well written and like everything is like, and the escalation is normal, unlike in like Supernatural, where in the first season they're fighting a werewolf and the last season they're fighting God. I mean, but like Percy Jackson's like a really natural progression of events. They do end up fighting like titans and stuff at the end of it, even though his first fight is a minotaur, but it makes sense in context because like they're growing up, they're like leveling up into different. And I didn't realize, so as I'm reading these books, I am really angry again about the Percy Jackson movies. I mean, I thought I was over it because I watched the Percy Jackson movies when I was like, 14, 15. That wasn't that long. That was 4 years ago. I don't know why I'm being pretentious about myself all of a sudden. But I watched the movies. I'm like, okay, well, Logan Lerman's in it, so that's a good thing. That's what he's called, right? That's his name. Yeah, Logan. Yeah, that's his name. So that's a good thing. And then I was pissed that Annabeth had the wrong hair color. But, like, I didn't really have that many problems with it because I was, like, a child. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's a movie. And then now that I'm rereading the books, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was entirely wrong. They screwed that up. The timeline's all screwed up. Everything's wrong. I tried to watch the movie again after I finished the series. I tried to watch the first movie again on, like, Disney Plus. And I got literally, like, 20 minutes in. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. I got to, like, Auntie M's Emporium or whatever, and I'm like, no, this is entirely wrong. I can't stand it. I have to turn this off. And I was like, but the thing is though that they're doing a Disney Plus series where Rick Riordan is actually going to get to, like, write the scripts and stuff and have more creative control. So hopefully that one turns out better because there's so much potential. It makes me so mad because the Percy Jackson books are, like, so good. They'd be so good as a series. And the fact that they just, like, completely squandered that opportunity and, like, cast, like, 20-year-olds to play 12-year-olds and, like, aged everybody up because they didn't want to have to, like, deal with child actors. It's just, like, really annoying, especially because there's such a loyal, like, fan base for Percy Jackson even today. I mean, if you're on TikTok, I'm on TikTok and, like, every, like, 3 TikToks I see are about Percy Jackson, about, like, the new series or something. Like, if you have a fan base that devoted and that, like, continued interest, it's like Harry Potter. You can't just waste that by throwing, like, little poopy movies. The movies are bad is what I'm saying, and they don't make any sense. How did I get from Sims to Percy Jackson? I was literally planning this in my head last night. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk to myself about The Sims because I was really frustrated with how things are turning out for my Sims. And then I'm just rambling. This is why I can't talk to a real person. If I was having a real conversation right now, somebody would be so pissed. Can you imagine if my brother's in the other room? If I was talking to my brother right now, he would leave. But you can't leave because you're a camera. Unless I turn you off, but, like, you don't have free will to... Why am I talking to a camera? Okay. Well, that's enough of that. Thank you for listening, Internet. I am gonna go read Percy Jackson. Goodbye.